Hey everybody, welcome to Lore Friday. This time we continue looking at Chapter 7 from the Out of the Abyss campaign, which focuses on the adventures in the Svervneblin city of Blingdenstone. Now, Out of the Abyss was of course published in September of 2015, and the Blingdenstone chapter is tuned for characters of level 7, which is tier 2 in 5th edition D&D. So this time we're looking at Rockblight, which is an area of the city where strange and not so wonderful things happen to summoned elemental creatures. Some deep gnomes also claim to have seen a Medusa haunting this abandoned area of the city. So the theme of this particular adventure is to investigate rumors of a Medusa, discover what is corrupting elementals, and or, depending on which quest givers you've talked to, rededicate a defiled temple to a deep gnome deity in an area of Blingdenstone known as Rockblight. Now, the setting for this is the ancient deep gnome city of Blingdenstone, now mostly abandoned except for a few hundred hardy refugees that are trying to reclaim the ruined city after it was plundered by ancient foes. And the hook of this particular adventure is that one of several NPC quest givers may send the PCs to Rockblight. Burrow Warden Jagger's ghost may ask the PCs to recover the bones of a restless undead that haunts this area. Nomi Pathshutter from the Stoneheart Enclave may ask the PCs to recover stone from corrupted elemental creatures in the abandoned area of the city called Rockblight. And Sark Axebarrel may tell the PCs that a Medusa haunts the Rockblight quarter of the city. Finally, Gurnik Tapfinger, head priest of Kalardaran Smoothhands, may ask the PCs to cleanse a corrupted temple in the Rockblight quarter of the city. Kalardaran Smoothhands. Now, does that sound like a rock guitarist to you? Kind of sounds like a yacht rock guitarist to me, doesn't it? All right, so the adventure summary goes something like this. Something is causing the very rock here to be twisted and corrupted. The gnomes of Blingdenstone have sealed off this quarter of the city, and several prominent townsfolk may ask the PCs to take care of one or more tasks for them here. So when the PCs pass through Stoneheart Quarry in the Blingdenstone outskirts, they may meet Nomi Pathshutter, who is in charge of the druids and wizards there. She may tell the PCs about a strange entity the deep gnomes call Ogremok's Bane, which has the power to corrupt elemental creatures, both summoned and natural. She would like to study the remains of creatures corrupted by this force in order to find ways of protecting the elementals that she and her fellow casters summon from its influence. To that end, she may send the PCs to Rockblight and ask them to bring back samples from any earth elemental creatures they find, including Zorn, gargoyles, Gallibond, or earth elementals themselves. Luckily or unluckily for the PCs, all of these creatures can be found in this section of the city, and many of them are already maddened by Ogremok's Bane and will attack the PCs on sight. Now, if the PCs avoided the Stoneheart Quarry, but if they ventured into the catacombs while they were in Inner Blingdenstone, they may meet a friendly ghost named Burrow Warden Jagger. And he promises to answer some questions for the PCs, but only if they help him first. He tells them of two spirits that must be laid to rest, one of which died somewhere in the area called Rockblight. He does not know exactly where, so the PCs will have to hunt around unless they get lucky their first time entering this area. The ghost they are seeking will attack the PCs immediately upon seeing them, but then it flees, and PCs that are brave enough to chase it down and finish it off have a chance to discover a nice reward for their efforts, in addition to getting one of the answers to the questions that they may want to ask Burrow Warden Jagger. So if they don't go to either of those areas, but if they pass through a well-defended part of Inner Blingdenstone, the PCs may meet a cynical gate captain named Sark Axbarrel. And Sark will tell the PCs that there are reports of a Medusa beyond the barricades that he and his fellow soldiers guard. He will pay a modest fee for information that can lead to the hunting and slaying of the Medusa. However, he will pay considerably more if the PCs kill the monster for him and bring him her head as proof. Evidence of the Medusa can be found in several places within Rockblight, and the Medusa does have a lair in this part of the city. Now, this Medusa has a very interesting backstory, some of which the PCs will learn as they go through this adventure. And DMs may have fun sharing bits of the backstory during combat as the Medusa tries to slay the PCs. Now, the Medusa also has some very interesting treasures, and the PCs may discover an odd and disturbing alliance the Medusa has formed with Ogremok's Bane, if Ogremok's Bane and the Medusa don't kill the PCs first. All right, so those are three of the possible quests. The fourth quest comes when the PCs enter a henge or a circle of stones in Inner Blingdenstone. When they get here, they may be approached by Gurnik Tapfinger, who is a priest of Calardoran Smoothhands. And Gurnik may ask the PCs to venture into Rockblight with a spell gem and find the temple to his deity that the deep gnomes call the Steadfast Stone. This temple is corrupted and it must be cleansed. The spell gem contains a hallow spell, which the PCs must protect from the servants of Ogremok's Bane until the casting is complete. So when the PCs begin the ritual, earth elementals begin to attack them, and they must defend the spell gem against several waves of these monsters in order to cleanse the temple and call forth its ancestral protectors. So that is what happens when they get into this Rockblight area. They may wind up going through all four of these particular quests, or they may be given one of the quests and stumble into others, or just do the one. Or, it's entirely possible that they might get into Blingdenstone and never hear about any of this. But that's the nice thing about this sort of sandbox style of a campaign, is that there are things to learn about, but the PCs have to wind up going to the areas where the quest givers are located. And if they wind up just not ever going to the right part of the city to meet the quest giver, well, DM, you just sort of have to let them say, well, might have been some nice stuff they could have had if they had gone over there, but they choose not to. All right, so the most common enemies that the PCs will face within the Rockblight area are animated drow statues. And these statues are CR1. And the toughest potential encounter comes if the PCs stumble into a garden of drow statues. If this happens, they're probably going to be in for a tough fight. There are 30 statues, and these statues will animate over the course of 5 rounds, 6 statues per round. And the statues will attack the PCs until all of the statues or all of the PCs are destroyed. So the special creatures or items that you will find here, the most unique entity in this particular adventure is Ogremok's Bane. It's an entity the PCs cannot fight by traditional combat, and one that has a unique ability to corrupt and control creatures of elemental earth. It has also entered into an unusual alliance with a Medusa, which has animated some of the creatures the monster has turned to stone since it has been in Rockblight. Now, my favorite element of this adventure is that this all takes place in a compact area of the city that has a well-defined theme of dangers. So every hazard within Rockblight has a tangent connection to the corrupting presence of Ogremok's Bane and Ogremok's Bane effect on creatures of elemental earth. So that makes it a great template for a section of an abandoned city where we DMs might want to create a series of related encounters that tell part of a story about what happened in this city, possibly what led it to be abandoned. The easiest homebrew adaptation for this adventure would be right at home in any underground ruins in your homebrew game. And with a little work, it could easily be adapted to any abandoned city, above ground, below ground, or somewhere else, underwater, whatever. And the different types of creatures that you find here, such as undead and elemental creatures, have been around since the days of basic D&D. So this would work in any campaign. All right, and that's going to do it for our look at Rockblight. Thank you so much for sticking around, and if you've made it this far, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, and click the post notification bell so that you get notified every time new content drops on the channel. Next time, when we come back, we are going to continue looking at the Blingdenstone area, and we are going to focus on a section of the abandoned city called the Gold Whisker Warrens. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care. And good night.